All right, so boom. I am just getting home from the James Talarico town hall that happened here in Houston. This was a black town hall. There's one tomorrow in Dallas. If you're looking for the link, Morgan B. Talking has a link in her bio. You should absolutely show up, especially if you have questions or concerns. If you've been in our comments complaining about that man, go tell that man your complaints and concerns and have him answer for it, right? Also, too, in keeping with the purpose of this town hall to center Black voices, Black concerns, my comments will also be centering Black voices and Black concerns. So if you hop in these comments talking about, well, Black people need to, and I click on your Avi, you're getting blocked or embarrassed, whatever I feel like doing in the moment. So just keep that in mind. Y'all are too comfortable jumping in discussions about Black voters, and y'all have enough busy work with your own communities. Focus there, please. Okay, so I do think the town hall, very similar to other events that he's had in the Houston area, was very high population of non-Black people. Even though the campaign told us directly this was event was to target Black people, was in a Black neighborhood at a Black church. Bet many of y'all didn't know that. Yes, it was at a Black church. So, but I think there may have been some miscommunication somewhere along the lines, or it could have been like, just an excited volunteer that saw the event was happening and shared it on their Facebook page or what have you. People may not have known the purpose of the event when they got there. And that is fair. That happens. And so when I got there, I was like, okay, this is not all of us here, but okay. But we came a little bit later because, church. And people definitely came in with their church clothes on. So that was also part of it as well. Now what did help, there were three speakers at the start, three local Black electeds who are well liked. I love all three of them. And they were very clear about the tone, the purpose of this event, and set a tone of reconciliation, acknowledgement of anger and frustrations, and this idea of like, ask your questions, make demands of this candidate. Like, he wants our vote. Like, ask him questions. So that included Mayor Pro Tem Martha Cassick Tatum, who noted, we are still reeling from what happened with Kamala Harris, what happened with our Senate race here in Houston, here in Texas. And so I was glad that was acknowledged in that room. It's very important. Then we have State House Rep Lauren Ashley Simmons, who is just a really good rally person. She worked in organizing, so she's always good on stage in those moments. I feel like that she was very good at that as well. And I think both of them, they weren't in here trying to convince us to vote for Talarico. They were in there to work in this kind of idea of reconciliation. And that was important. That was the purpose of this town hall. Then we get to my congressman, Christian Menifee, who hopped on stage and said, "What up, Black folks?" And so people may have been like, and again, the town hall ad did not say Black Town Hall. And I'm assuming for a number of reasons. So people may not have known. Now, I did see people leave at some points who don't look like me. It had been a long day. They may have driven from the suburbs, and it was, the doors opened. Um, People started lining up by 1:30. At 4 o'clock, they were still taking questions. So people may have been like, "I'm out," and I get that. So I started seeing rumblings online that they're like the people were mad. If they were mad, they weren't mad by me. They were just kind of being quiet and just kind of watching what was happening. So that was my take on that. Then we got to Talarico coming to the stage. He kind of does his opening thing. And this was my question. This was my question. I have heard this man say since last fall, I've heard him say this probably 5 times in person at this point, that the Democratic Party takes the Black voters for granted. Okay. But at some point, when you continue to make that statement, it reads as hollow if you can't tell me what you're doing to ensure that you aren't taking Black voters for granted. That was my question. I didn't get to ask it. And so my thing is, like, he kind of went through things they are doing, but I want Black voters to kind of hone in on this. When we say taking us for granted, what happens is they assume that Black voters are on board, they're going to vote for the Democratic candidate, and all they have to focus on is getting you out to vote. So when we say that, whereas white voters and Latino voters are getting this effort to get them to believe in this campaign well before GOTV efforts, which usually happen closer to November. And so that's why I'm like, okay, but what are you doing now? Are you just assuming that, okay, we're going to get over it and show up? Are you actively coming out here and listening to Black voters? And so he gave some answers to that. But that's my question. And I kind of like, okay, at some point you got to quit. You got to have some action behind that phrase. So he starts with that whole thing, walks through things they have done, things people didn't know, that he went to Prairie View, he went to Paul Quinn. I'm super online, so I knew all these different things, but people in the audience were like, okay, that's good to hear. One person said, you all need to do better about blasting these things out. I didn't know that. Another one said, you had an interview on a local radio station. I get 10 messages from you a day about giving money. He's like, and I've given money, but it'd be helpful to know that you're going to be on a radio station in my hometown, so I could, the same one that you text me about this event that's happened, so I can tune in and listen to that, which was fair. Okay. The questions. I get extreme secondhand embarrassment in an open forum when people get to ask questions, because I feel like people don't ever ask questions right. Here was good. I think people did. I was concerned we were gonna have somebody get up there and be like, I just love you, you're the best. And that's okay. Like, if you love a candidate, that's fair. But the issue with that is that they were wasting time because we need to get to people who don't love him, people who have concerns, people who are not convinced yet. We need to spend time on those folks. And so I think those people were centered in the space. And for the most part, everyone that asked the question was Black. Now, were others raising their hands? Yes. But the Black people was and that's who got to ask the questions. We had questions about Black farmers, which I think is important when you consider where Black people are centered or concentrated in Texas. So Texas has the largest population of Black people, numbers wise, not percentage. And those folks are, I think it's about 4.5 to 5.5 million Black people in Texas completely, 1.5 million in the Dallas metro area, 1.5 million in the Houston metro area, and another big group of them in kind of these East Texas smaller towns, which would include Black farmers. So that was a question that was asked, which I thought was a good question. Somebody else asked about how are you reaching out to Black militants, because there are plenty of people who are, got questions. Like, those are the ones that are harder to get to. How are you reaching out to that population? And then there was a person, I do know her, and I won't get into all that, but who was talking about just kind of annoyed with just the process that how this was set up, and not feeling as though everyone got to ask their questions, which I think is fair. One of his campaign workers tried to hush her, and she's not Black. I said, baby, read the room. We will riot. Don't do that. Even if we don't agree with, like, perhaps just the how it went down, like, don't do that. And so he did. I don't want to say he answered the question. He acknowledged that and said, like, it's on me to to hold me to account. Very early on, after the primary ended, I was talking to a Black politico here in Houston about just all the things I think that went wrong with that primary in terms of building a relationship with Black voters that you could help, that could carry you into the fall if you were to win the general. And his response was, this was in the spring, so this probably was like not even a month after the primary. His response was, he needs to have a town hall and let people yell at him and move on. And that, in some ways, I think is what this was for many people. When I talked to people afterwards, I felt like it's a step in the right direction, but I do feel like people were like, okay, listen, he kept saying that he doesn't want people to vote for him just because he's not Kim Paxton. He wants people to feel like comfortable and excited about voting for him because of something he's gonna, he's running on. And the response I saw from people was, not there yet. I can't say I'm excited about him, but you ain't Kim Paxton, which, okay, whatever. And again, the lack of excitement within the Black community is a concern, because excited Black people bring other people to the polls. And so people are like, well, what do you want from him? They're not paying me. And I've seen way too many of our ideas from the internet make their way into the campaign. So they're not paying me. That's on his campaign. He kept saying that the team is great and they're so awesome. Well, they're so great and so awesome. Figure it out. It's not shade. That's just real. You are paying people to do this. They got to figure it out. I'm trying to think what else. Those are my main thoughts. It's a long video. It'll probably be on YouTube for the most part. I'll put half of it over on the Instagram. What else? Oh, July. My girl July McShay, the Southern socialite, the pretty petty professor. She asked about his online people and named specific people: Rogue DNC, Keith Edwards, David Piper. That man is a stalker, okay? A stalker. He is obsessed with anybody Black that has any critique of Talarico. And let me also just note this too. When I hear this man talking about voting rights, the Voting Rights Act, the loss of Black political power, Black maternal health, Harris County having the highest, like one of the worst places to give birth for a Black woman, These are all things that we as Black people have pushed him on. He didn't just start saying that. So, no, I'm never going to stop pushing these people and pushing these candidates to demand something of them, especially when y'all want our vote. Like, not going to do it. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. But July talked about him, having these people online who were just really negative and just very much like, attacking us and attacking Crockett as well, Jasmine Crockett. And he talked about that she's done such great work. She deserves all these different things and respect. And he's like, and they need to quit talking about her. Quit talking about her. And so that's how we all feel. Quit talking about her. Now, will it work? Probably not, because they think they actually are doing the work of the campaign. So there's that. It probably needs to, not probably, it needs to happen online. It needs to probably be like the Team Talarico page responding to one of these people and saying, this is not productive. You got to put a light on people and say, I see you. You out of line. And you got to kind of embarrass them publicly for them to get it. So probably will take that. I get why it wouldn't be his page, but have that Team Talarico page. Have them go over there and say, bruh, this ain't helpful. You keep harassing people who have blocked you. I think this was 10 minutes, or 11 minutes. I feel like I probably didn't give you anything like substantive about what happened. It wasn't overall. It had to happen. Is it a step in the right direction? Yes. Do I think he solved every issue he had? No. Do I think people got to ask questions about different stuff? Yes. Did I agree with every answer he gave? No. Particularly on the consultants thing, when somebody asked about, do your consultants look like us? Now, here's the thing I need this campaign to understand. We can see your FEC reports. So if I see an ad that I know is targeting Black people, and I go look at your FEC reports, and I don't see a Black consultant firm on there that could have made that ad, then I know that somebody who doesn't look like me did that poll, did that research, did that ad. And in this moment, given how when this economy gets a cold, Black Americans get the flu. And so this campaign is raising so much money. And if you want to show that you believe in Black businesses, then you need to invest in Black businesses right here in this city, right here in this state. And so this girl said, are your consultants, are they diverse? And his response was, this is a staff-driven campaign. Now, that is subjective. We can agree to disagree on that. But I don't think he really answered the question about the consultants. And I was so glad that was asked. So now they know we're watching. And not just the people online, because she was not a content creator. That was somebody I did not know. And I said, thank you for asking that question. And again, FEC reports are public. We can see this. So if we start seeing deliverables that we can tell are targeted towards Black people, GOTV and all that. But we don't see Black consulting firms, because we know who they are, in the FEC report. That's a tell. So, if y'all have asked questions, maybe I'll make a second video. This is longer than I want it to be. I don't think most of you all care for a 13-minute diatribe about what happened at that town hall, but I've created it for you all. It's here. So this will be spliced over on part of it on Instagram, and then I'll put the whole thing on the YouTube. All right, folks, have a good Sunday.